Welcome back, everyone, to the Stumpy Squared Madden 24 Sim Rebuild series. We are coming straight off of episode 1, going right into our first off-season and regular season with head coach Jason Ferguson with the Detroit Lions, coming off a 3-14 record and the number 1 overall pick. So we enter with free agency now available. We have just under $49 million in cap room. We went over the roster last time out, and the just main pieces that I'm looking to fill here are quarterback in this offseason, because we have two quarterbacks that really just aren't going to be future quarterbacks for a franchise. So we're going to move on from them. We're going to look to probably add a third receiver behind Amon-Ra St. Brown and Mike Williams. Gonna look to maybe beef up our tight end room. Offensive line, we're looking at a change at left tackle most likely, as well as probably a new face at right guard, but that remains to be seen. We're gonna try to improve the entire defense, because really there's only 2, maybe 3 players that you really feel good about, and that's Jack Campbell, Hutchinson, and maybe, just maybe, CJ Gardner-Johnson or Kirby Joseph. / Brian Branch. Probably feel good about your safeties if you trade one of them away to get a different player somewhere else at a different position. But corner is definitely a major need, as are the other ones that we talked about. So those are all we're going to try to address today. It's only the first year in the 10-year rebuild. We have 10 years to get a Super Bowl, so you don't have to make any major moves starting out, but let's start to make some offers here. So we saw the free agent class with Jalen Ramsey, Jalen Waddle. I mean, really, what I'm thinking about right now is that we've already changed our scheme. We've already hired our new coordinators. We've already brought in ourselves, obviously, as the new head coach. And we have the playbook set up as well that we want to use. So now it's about, do you draft Keon Caldwell first overall and then trade up into the first round to get Antonio Fuller or Eric Baldwin? Or do you not even worry about the trade up and you just sign Jalen Waddle as another receiver, which he would fit our scheme, and then you just already have some great weapons for your young quarterback to use? It's coming off a pretty down year, actually. He said 3 years over 1,000 yards, 2 kind of below. He's coming off the year where he had the least amount of receptions in a season. Was he injured this year at all? He was not. He played the entire year, all 17 games. So maybe the Dolphins' passing game wasn't up to snuff. But regardless, we are going to go ahead and target Charvarius Ward to beef up the secondary. We have the top offer right now. He doesn't have the highest interest, though. For Jahan Dotson, he's coming off a year where he didn't get a whole lot of looks, had less than 500 yards, but he wants a lot less money than Waddle does, and he could be a really solid third receiver if you don't end up taking Keon Caldwell first overall. So we'll target those 2 guys, as well as Connor Williams to move to right guard. We're also going to target Grover Stewart for the only offer in for him right now, trying to improve the defensive tackles on this team. And we're also going to go after Jermaine Pratt to have somebody better play alongside of Jack Campbell, because right now the top guy besides him is a practice squad player. So we need upgrades there. And right now I think Ali McNeil is our top defensive tackle at a 76. So that needs to improve. And the run defense was the worst part of the defense last season. So all these are going to be trying to adjust that. But we do end up signing Jahan Dotson and Connor Williams to their contracts. Dotson is on a multi-year deal, as is Connor Williams. So 2 years for Williams, 3 for Dotson. A lot of other players signed in this first stage, including Charvarius Ward to the Colts. We also end up getting Jermaine Pratt later on in stage 1. We also are going to increase the offer for Stewart here because now that we have a bit of more cap room and the Vikings up their offer for him, we're going to put our offer over theirs. And we do bring in Grover Stewart now. So we sign a couple of veterans to our defense and a couple of younger players to our offense. And think we're well on our way to a solid offseason here, as we're pretty much out of cap room now at $8.7 million. So we're going to pretty much focus on the draft and any trades that we want to make going forward. Here in mock draft 4, what's interesting is that they don't have Antonio Fuller going in the first round. They don't even have Clayton Alexander going in the first round. And so really you only have Eric Baldwin and Enrique Buckhalter who are supposed to go. And they're both supposed to go top 10. So maybe what you could do is potentially draft Caldwell first overall. And then what you could do is maybe trade into the late first round, or just sit on your top of the second pick and just hope and pray that Fuller falls to you there. So we're going to think about that, but in the meantime, we have trade offers now for CJ Gardner-Johnson, and because we have Brian Branch behind him as like a 24-year-old 80 overall safety, I think it makes sense to give him another shot as the starter. And we have plenty of offers here, and I like the one from the Raiders with Nate Hobbs. This could really help out the secondary. He's an 83 overall star dev. You tack on a 5th round pick, and you beef up your corners. You still have 2 really solid safeties with Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Now you add potentially a number 1 corner to your team. You also got offers for Taylor Decker here, and they were offering some receivers, but the only offer that was not with a receiver, who I don't want, is cornerback Riley Moss, and he would be the second best corner on the team. You also acquire a couple of picks in this draft, and I took this one as well. So 2 trades to acquire your new top 2 corners on the team. Now for the recap of the free agent signings. Jalen Ramsey to the Texans. Tennessee ends up getting Jalen Waddle. Jalen Phillips heads to Los Angeles. The Cardinals bring in Aquanu. We saw Ward. Travis Kelce leaves Kansas City for Green Bay. Katie Moore heading to Denver. Dylan Carlson is still a free agent. Another signing in the secondary for Houston. They bring in Tyrann Mathieu as well, alongside Jalen Ramsey. Jameson Williams is heading to LA. Emerson heads to New Orleans. Grady Jarrett is a Buccaneer. Darius Slay is a Viking. Marcus Lawrence will re-sign with Dallas on a 1-year contract, as will Donovan Wilson. Kyer Elam heads to Carolina. Tyler Algier leaves for his NFC South rival, Saints. TJ Edwards to the NFC South as well. Taron Johnson to Tennessee. Von Bell to Carolina. And more. So now let's jump into mock draft 5, the final mock draft before the actual draft unfolds. But now there's a difference. Apparently the Patriots are eyeing quarterback Clayton Alexander, the pocket passing field general, with their 14th pick. But Fuller is still not going in this first round, so maybe you still can just wait and take him in the top of the second. We're going to use focus scouting on Keon Caldwell just to get more info on him, just to be safe, as well as on Christian Kelly, the running back, and Paul Pope, a right end. So looking at Caldwell's scouting card, still showing off that, his speed is probably the weakest part of his athletic profile. But regardless of that, this guy is going to get up there. He's going to make grabs in traffic. He'll make grabs spectacularly with one hand or otherwise. He's a really good route runner, which you don't often see out of college. And he's also a decent run blocker as well. He's 6'3". He fights for every inch as a runner. I think he is nearly set in stone as the first overall pick. We also used our focus scouting on this running back, Christian Kelly, who's got a really good ball carrier vision. And he's also the fastest running back in this entire class. Otherwise, he's not that great of an athlete, and he is really relying heavily, or really only, on his speed and his vision, because he can't juke, he can't spin, he doesn't have any power to his game, so not sure about him. There's also Paul Pope, who we used it on. He's more of a day 3 kind of a player, so round 5, round 6, round 7, and for him, well-rounded player. He's very he's kind of weak. He's not very strong at all, but he's a good finesse rusher. and has decent play awareness, power moves, so could be a good option for us in the draft. But let's dive right in. The Lions are on the clock, and I'm going to make the move to draft Keon Caldwell. I know that we just signed Jahan Dotson. Yes, that is true. But if you can add a young playmaker of this caliber, you can also still get the quarterback that you want, why wouldn't you at least try to make that move? Let's make the selection here. Keon Caldwell, welcome to the Detroit Lions. Hidden development, 89 speed, 87 jumping, 92 change of direction, acceleration, 90 agility. He's not going to be wearing 27 for sure, but he should be a superstar receiver with these attributes. We're going to see how the top 10 go first, and then we'll think about a trade up. But on the clock now are the Buccaneers, and they will select Eric Baldwin as expected. So they have their new franchise quarterback. The Chargers will take Luke Hodges, that really good right tackle. Bears are on the clock. They take another tackle, Clay Farr. Hunter Landry. Tyrell Killings out of Utah. The Broncos are supposed to take Buckhalter. And they do. So they like Buckhalter more than Antonio Fuller. Okay. There goes Jacoby Broughton. And then Cole Harrison. Pick number 10. There's Davenport. Let's get to pick 15 now. Or pick 20 and then think about it. It goes as safety to New Orleans. Chase Perkins to the Niners. There goes one of the top corners, D'Angelo Durham. Going to join Devon Witherspoon over in Seattle. There goes a quarterback. There goes Alexander, as we thought. So we got Colts, Texans, Browns, Titans. Colts, Texans, Browns, Titans. And then the Titans are the other team in the next 4 picks. They have Trey Lance, but they might want to go quarterback. The Titans might be the team to trade up with. Let's at least see what it would take to move up from the second round. Maybe you throw in one of our 4th round picks, and you throw in a second next year and another 4th next year. What does this get you? It's pretty damn close. We're almost there. Might throw in a player now. Free up some cap room. What do they need? Right guard, left end. Maybe you trade. We never got offers for Runyon. He's still on the roster. Maybe you just trade him away to them. You take off the 3 and you add him. Where is it at now? It's done. All right, so we trade Runyon, our 2nd round pick and 4th round pick this year, and our 2nd next year to get the 18th overall pick from Tennessee. You pretty much know that the next 2 or 3 teams are not going to be drafting a quarterback, so I feel like we're going to be able to get Fuller at our pick. There goes the receiver, Terrence Brooker. The Texans select another receiver, Tyree Philbin. And the Browns select tight end Glenn Gleason. And now it's time for the franchise quarterback to come to Detroit. We're going to get the guy that we saw and set our eyes on. Antonio Fuller. Welcome to Detroit. Hidden development, 91 throw power, 70 strength. He's 6'4". He's a scrambler, 82 speed, 91 chain of direction, 87 agility. This guy can run. He can pass. He's going to be a star. Oh, it feels good to confirm that we actually got both guys that we were really eyeing here in the 1st round. That just makes you feel happy. Falcons take a corner after a couple have gone. Devontae Cooper to Las Vegas. Cole Buckner to the Bills. Defensive tackle Eddie Davis out of Miami heads to Kansas City. goes a linebacker. The Ravens go for an offensive lineman. A lot of receivers have gone here in the first round. Only a handful of linebackers. There's Ryan Trainer. Panthers select George Henson. Steelers take Nick Henson. And now we have the last pick of the first round for the Giants. And they select Chauncey Hancock out of Ohio State. And now we obviously give away our top pick here in the second round so we can sim to our next one and chug along now quickly through this NFL draft. We flash up ahead all the way to the first pick of the third round, and I'm eyeing tight ends here because I still want to add a better third tight end behind Laporta and Irv Smith Jr. And I feel like the options that I saw here, I think that Deontay Boulware is the best option for us to go after. Good catch in traffic, break tackle. Bit of a gamble here at 50% scouting, but he looks to have good catching and deep route, and is also a good route runner, or good run blocker, I should say. He's not hidden dev, but normal dev, 82 speed. We'll see if he is going to be a guy that can really contribute in this upcoming season. Then, in the top of the fourth round, I had my eyes on defensive tackle depth, and I saw Sidney Graham here with a pretty well-rounded skill set. He has elite strength as well, which you don't really see too often. A play rec, a tackling. He's going to have a good injury rating, and he's got 98 strength, and he is hidden dev. This might be a kind of a sneaky steal for us here in the fourth round. Then we go to the fifth round, pick number 1, and going back to Paul Pope, who we used one of our scouting focuses on, and we're going to draft him as well. He looks like he can contribute in terms of speed rushing, so we'll see what he can do off the edge, but might not get a whole lot of playing time in his first rookie campaign. We go into the sixth round. This is pick 1. I was looking for middle linebackers to play alongside Jermaine Pratt and Jack Campbell, or at least be some solid depth. And I saw Paul Bobo here as my favorite option with decent pursuit and block shedding. Tackling needs some work, but as a backup, that's kind of expected. He's not the best athlete either, but he does have decent speed. He's top 5 in the linebacker class for the 40-yard dash, and he might have decent coverage skills, but those aren't really going to be too good for linebackers. But the awareness looks to be at a decent level, at least a C. Play rec as well, so I feel comfortable taking him despite being a normal dev player. Then after him, we're going to go linebacker again with Juan Boston, trying to get a guy that can provide a little bit of everything with block shed, finesse moves. Does not have the greatest power moves, but has a couple of the other two. And then going more towards a defensive line, I found Jermaine Wilkinson here, a very strong left, and another one of those guys that has the elite strength with C power moves, C block shed. Doesn't have any finesse to his game, but power is important in the run game, so as a run stopper, hopefully he can be that kind of a player. Then, our last pick of the draft that we actually use, we're going to select Eddie Spellman here, who is a power back and really can only use power. And then we're going to trade away our last pick to the Vikings for a 6th rounder next year. Here's the draft recap. Caldwell is a beast. Just by the overall alone. 80 overall. Hidden development. 22 years old. 84 medium route. The route running actually looks really good, man. Holy crap. You almost never see guys with this good of route running starting out. Especially on the deep route being 77. That's awesome. 86 catching already, can make some grabs in traffic, and has got 91 spec catch. Damn. And really good release. He runs after the catch, fights for yards. 86 ball carrier vision. He's got the juke move, the spin move. 95 stamina. And this guy's going to be a beast for us. He's going to be an absolute beast. We're going to have to put him over Dotson. We'll see how Mike Williams plays, and if Williams is not playing too well in the season, then we're probably going to look for a trade for him. But We have really beefed the offense up, and now we have a quarterback with Antonio Fuller, 74 overall scrambler. Okay. Aggressive decision maker, ideal sense of pressure, balanced QB style. 91 throw power. Accuracy is actually pretty good, especially for short at 88. The other two are actually pretty decent starting out, especially for deep at 79. So he's got 86 throw on the run. Already has a pretty decent throw under pressure. Play action definitely needs some work. But he can work very well outside of the pockets. 95 stamina, good acceleration, good agility, toughness. That is all good. He's going to be a good player for us, I think. He's now our franchise quarterback, as he should be. But he doesn't really find Michigan to be all too fun. But we can help that out by bringing in a mentor. So I'm going to have to sign a veteran quarterback that has that tag. But there's your new team leader, Antonio Fuller, number 8. Caldwell is going to wear 27. I'm going to change that right now. Ain't no way he's wearing 27. Let's do 84. You can't do 81 because that's Megatron's number, and that should not be even available. So we'll do 84 for Caldwell. We also drafted tight end Deontay Buller here. Hopefully I'm not butchering his name, but 67 overall, rookie tight end at a UCF. Pretty good starting stuff, actually, so he'll be a really good second option, I think, behind Laporta. Unless we keep Irv Smith around as the second option, that could definitely be the opportunity, and we could put Buller as the third stringer then. But 82 speed, 78 catching. Route running for sure needs work, but he can definitely catch the ball right now, and that's why he was drafted, to be that vertical threat. But then we took a sneak steal of the draft, Sidney Graham, 73 overall, hitting development run stopper with that amazing strength, man. When you see that, you know that you might have a guy that can really blossom under you. And he's really well-rounded, 67 block shot and power moves with 64 finesse. Play rec and awareness are already at pretty good levels. Acceleration and tackle are at a good spot too. Speed is pretty low, but he's a really big guy, so not shocked at all by that. A 90 impact block. He won't get hurt very often with 93 injury. 85 toughness. He'll be a really good option behind Grover Stewart and Aleem McNeil, I think. I might even put him over McNeil to get playing time. Looks like Paul Pope was a 67 overall speed rusher, 74 finesse moves, 78 speed, 66 power moves. So really only finesse moves is he's a one-trick pony, but he can contribute. We also drafted middle linebacker Paul Bobo, a 66 run stopper, 65 field general, with good starting hit power, pursuit, acceleration, tackle, and speed. Play rec and awareness need work for sure, as does the zone coverage, but also can immediately give it a solid impact, I think. Our first kind of a whiff was on Juan Boston at 63 overall. Block shot's actually pretty good. It doesn't look too bad on paper. Then you look at his secondary attributes. I mean, he's got no coverage skills to speak of at all. Pass rush isn't there really. We'll see about him. You got Jermaine Wilkinson, one of those other big ends that we drafted. And he's a 66 overall, 91 strength, 84 acceleration. Block shedding is his main attributes, with good tackling as well. And then our last pick of the draft was the running back Eddie Spellman, who's actually pretty decent, 68 overall. Okay, I'll take that any day of the week. 88 speed, 81 ball carrier vision, trucking. Spin and juke actually are at decent levels for a power back, especially the juke move. So he could be solid. He just can't do anything out of the back foot at all, but you've already got Jahmyr Gibbs, so you don't really need that either. That was your Lions draft class. I think it was pretty good overall. You really only had one real true miss. What about the overall draft? Was there anybody higher than Caldwell in terms of overall? It does not look like it. In fact, he was by far the best player in the draft, so I'm glad we took him. Because after him, you got Victor Weeks, a receiver. A corner, another receiver with Terrence Booker. There were a lot of good receivers in this draft, though. What about the quarterbacks? Where was the highest rated quarterback? Looks like it was a tie between Baldwin, Alexander. I mean, really, all four of them were 74 overall. Baldwin is hidden dev. Pretty good short accuracy. Very similar. Very, very similar as to Antonio Fuller. But Coulter was taken next, and he was a 74 overall strong arm. Can't really do much outside of the pocket, and the accuracies definitely aren't as good as the other ones overall, but his deep accuracy is better than everybody else's, and his throw power is too. Then you had Clayton Alexander, the 74 overall field general, just straight up just pocket passer guy. Really good medium and short accuracies, and he's probably the best overall accurate quarterback in the draft. Also has a higher throw power than Antonio Fuller does, with better play action, a bit worse throwing the run. Break sack is not very high at all, and under pressure, that needs work too. So the depth chart has been completed. Here is your starting lineup on the offensive side of the ball. On the offensive line, you're going to have Aaron Cobb, Price, Frank Ragnow, Connor Williams, and Panay Sewell. I think we really improved this offensive line with the additions. Porter is your new number 1 tight end, followed by Irv Smith and the rookie Bulware. And at receiver, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Mike Williams, followed by Keon Caldwell and Jahan Dotson. At running back, you've got Jahmyr Gibbs with Boyle and Spellman, the new rookie. At quarterback, you've got Antonio Fuller, your new leader of the offense, backed up by Jordan Love and Hendon Hooker. For now, we'll see if either of those guys have any trade interest. At fullback, we're going to put Ricardo Richard there. On the defensive side of the ball, here's who you got. You got Kirby Joseph, Alton Robinson, Jermaine Pratt, Jack Campbell, and Davis Gaither. You also got Brian Branch as your new starting strong safety. At corner, we traded for Nate Hobbs. We also traded for Riley Moss. Those are your new top 2 corners on the team, followed by Ambry Thomas and Darby. Those are your top 4. The defensive line, you're going to be starting DeMarcus Whitehead, Grover Stewart, and Aiden Hutchinson, with Graham behind Stewart, followed by Aleem McNeil, with Wilkinson and Pope, the 2 rookies, behind Hutchinson, and then Pope and Hayward behind Whitehead. And those are your offensive and defensive lineups. We're going to have Jack Fox as the punter. We're going to have Cooper Whitaker as our kicker this year. Richard will return kicks and punts. And for specialists, we're going to have Ambry Thomas as the slot corner for now. We're going to have Hutchinson and Whitehead off the edge in pass rushing situations, and McNeil as the rushing defensive tackle. Campbell's going to be your sub linebacker. Amon-Ra St. Brown will be in the slot exclusively, and we're going to have Jahmyr Gibbs as the third down back, with Spellman as the rookie power back. And that's your lineup. We've only got 6 guys to cut in preseason, so we will catch up once preseason here is over with. So it's done now, and we have some upgrade points, including one for our rookie quarterback, Antonio Fuller. Gonna go strong arm here, and see right there that we have an ability slot, so that might be confirmation that he at least is a superstar dev trait. We won't know until later on in the meat of the season, but that could be interesting to know early on, and could be a good sign for us. And to go along with that, we're going to sign Teddy Bridgewater to be a mentor tagged quarterback. So welcome Teddy Two Gloves to Detroit. Here are the preseason cuts. Really nothing to really note, except for we did cut Hendon Hooker. I want to keep Love as the backup for now and have Bridgewater as that third stringer. But in preseason, we had the worst ranked offense. We barely scored. Our highest game was 15 points against the Steelers right there in game 3 of the preseason. So things did not go very well. The defense was okay, but the offense was not very good. And Jordan Love significantly outplayed Antonio Fuller. in these 3 games. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Both guys threw about 44 attempts, but Love completed 7 more passes. Fuller threw no touchdowns, had a rating 50 points lower than Love, a YPA about half of what Love's was, and they both played a similar amount of downs. Now, Love took way more sacks than Fuller did, what you would expect because he is kind of a escape artist, kind of a quarterback, and can move well outside of it, but the offense as a whole was horrible, and Spellman was the only running back that got anything going on the ground. He only had 3 total carries, so the run game also needs some work, and hopefully Fuller has more in store for us in the regular season than he did in preseason. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown only played in 1 game in preseason, but he did pop off for 2 touchdowns and a $113, and Caldwell only had 3 total grabs in the entire preseason, so you're also seeing a lack of production out of your first overall pick. We had a couple of sacks for Whitehead and for Hutchinson, and a pick for Jack Campbell. The defense, as we said already, was probably the best part of the preseason for us, but they still weren't, great or good or anything, so not sure what to expect here in year 1, so we're going to set our goal at 4 wins, because last year we only had 3. So, expectations are low, but we're going to see what happens. Antonio Fuller gets 1K XP because we're going to give him no expectations for at least week 1. Another upgrade point for him, though, and we get some under the pressure upgrade points for him. Good to get those. And just a scheme reminder, we're going with a spread offense and a Ron Rivera Commanders playbook. And the head coach Ferguson era starts off with a shutout win of the Carolina Panthers. Did not expect this game after going 1-2 in preseason and barely scoring, but 24 points. The defense puts together a shutout in Ferguson's first game as the coach. Fuller threw the ball a lot, 24 for 36, a high YPA, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Neither quarterback really played all too well, really, and neither ground game was working well either. Had 2 touchdowns here for Boyle as one of our backup running backs. And Amon-Ra St. Brown and Mike Williams both put up 74 yards. Laporta and Caldwell had 61 each, so we really did spread the ball pretty well to 4 different players in this game. And we had a couple of sacks too from DeMarcus White, had only had 2 last year, so already seeing him get to half of the production from his rookie season. And Lynn Delmas, our backup strong safety, picks off Bryce Young. But Cooper Whitaker, our young kicker, was 1 for 3. Might have a kicking problem on our hands, but because of the shutout, we get 4,500 XP across our entire defensive line. And then in week 2, we're being brought back down to earth thanks to a loss. Both quarterbacks once again struggled. Neither guy really got over a couple hundred yards through the air, a touchdown, a pick for each guy. And Mixon was by far the best player. 121 yards on the ground, 5.3 per carry. Keegan Pierce also ran the ball well. Neither team got a whole lot through the air, so there was really no standout receiver in this game, although Travis Kelce, now in Green Bay, did catch a touchdown. Campbell puts together another good day and has a pick as well, so he's off to a good start for his season. If they're one to Stokes as well. And Campbell gets a Player of the Week nomination for that one, so that is our first Player of the Week of the season for anybody. Have an upgrade point here for Keon Caldwell. Love seeing the +3 catching traffic. But now through weeks 3 and 4, we would split our next 2 games. We dropped kind of a blowout loss against, I think that was the Packers in week 3, although we just saw it was the Rams. Baker Mayfield with 2 touchdowns, no picks. He tore us apart. We had 2 picks thrown by Fuller, and we just could have played a whole lot better. This was a pretty bad offensive game for us once again. Mike Evans, a touchdown for him, and we got a couple of sacks for Whitehead, Stewart, Hutchinson, but we threw 2 picks to Ventrell Miller and Marcus Jones, and we just did not put points on the board. And week 4, though, we bounced back with a very close win against Tampa Bay, and Antonio Fuller had one of the best days of his career in the first couple of weeks against another rookie quarterback in Eric Baldwin, who threw 3 touchdowns in this game. Both guys had at least one INT. But the ground game was much better for us in this game, and Mike Williams put up a monster performance of a $184 and a touchdown. He is due for a couple of those a season. If you are a fantasy football player, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or if you're a Chargers fan. Nate Hobbs grabs 2 INTs, and Whitaker was perfect, and the entire team gets 2,500 XP for this victory. Hobbs gets another Player of the Week nomination, so our second of the season on defense. Good to see that. And we also get a lot of upgrade points because of the XP boost from that win. And now we're 2 snaps away from finding out Antonio Fuller's depth trait. And he put together another great performance. 2 touchdowns, no picks, 232 through the air against the Commanders as we picked off Stephen Pagel once. And Gibbs back down to kind of a struggle on the ground with 3.2 per carry. Still trying to figure out what we need to get the running game up to snuff. But in terms of defense, we got a sack for Hutchinson and an INT for Riley Moss, one of those acquisitions via trade in the offseason. And Whitaker was perfect in this game. Upgrade point for Fuller. And we find out that he is an X Factor. Holy crap, we got the 4th first-round quarterback, and he is an X Factor. So he has the escape artist archetype, a couple of early superstar abilities, but he's going to be a guy that can explode out of the pocket and can escape pressure game in, game out. So we're going to use the upgrade point for him on the improviser archetype, and he's up to a 76 overall and a 77 overall if you count the temporary boost. But after this win, we would drop 2 straight on either end of the Week 7 bye week. Both games against Minnesota. This first game we lost was a close one, a loss by 3. We had a lot of passing yards and did not get a whole lot for ourselves, despite a really good running day for Gibbs. But JJ tore us a new one. Addison played well too. The defense just kind of got torn apart here, despite good pass rushing days for Whitehead and Hutchinson once again. And we got an INT from Ambry Thomas, but then we lost another one right out of the bye week to the same exact team. And once again, Ramon Payton just passed the ball well against us, and we did not do as well. And this time, they did a much better job stuffing the run, and Gibbs was not as effective. 2 touchdowns for Amon-Ra St. Brown in this game, and another sack for Hutchinson, but 2 straight losses after a really nice win that boosted your team. That hurts. So 3-7 games, 10 touchdowns, 7 INTs for Fuller. Been sacked 12 times. Mike Williams actually leads the team in receiving. Amon-Ra St. Brown is not putting up wide receiver 1 numbers whatsoever. Only 50 yards a game. And we're not really putting up touchdowns through the air either. And Keon Cole, the first overall pick, has done nothing. 31 yards a game, only 1 touchdown. We sim our next 2 weeks, and we beat the Bears, but we lose against the Patriots. But we at least get 1 win in this rough stretch here in the middle of the season. 3 touchdowns, 2 picks for Fuller. Gibbs back to over 4.0 per carry. Laporta led us in receiving, which is like the only time this year where he did this. Mike Williams hauls in a couple of touchdowns. Another sack for DeMarcus White, who continues to put together a really nice second-year season. But we lose against the Patriots because Antonio Fuller had the worst game of his entire career. 3 INTs, a rating below 30, had hardly any yards to speak of. And even though we played, a decent level of defense, and your quarterback throws 3 picks, it's hard to win. Then we come out with a overtime loss against the Colts, and Fuller bounces back with a really phenomenal performance, one of the best of his season. 3 touchdowns, no INTs, a near perfect rating. But we lose against the Colts. Jonathan Taylor puts up 2 touchdowns. We barely ran the ball because we were just, losing for most of the game. We got 2 touchdowns for Caldwell here and a really good day receiving-wise. But, again, a loss, and that is our 4th loss in our last 5 games. Jack Campbell gets a pick and another Player of the Week nomination for him. And Keon Caldwell is a superstar dev, so our first round picks we hit on in terms of dev traits, but in terms of production, we're not getting that level of production for what you would expect here in their rookie seasons. We would lose our next 2 games against the Bills and Dolphins, both by double digits, and this year looks like it might be just going down the toilets. Just not playing well. The offense is kind of tapering off here in the middle of the season, and you're seeing inconsistencies across both the offense and the defense now, as really the defense allowed a good amount of points against the Bills and the Dolphins, and in tandem with that, the offense couldn't put up points. Gibbs played well here against the Dolphins, but Caldwell only 36 yards on 3 grabs. We got 2 more sacks for Hutchinson, 1 for Whitehead as well. Those 2 guys may be the most consistent players on the entire team. I think them and Campbell are the most consistent throughout the entire season, and this receiving core right now is just not producing. I was expecting a whole lot more from the playmakers on this team, but even Laporta's having a rough year, and St. Brown's down and below 50 yards a game, and now we're going into a game against the 10-2 Saints. But we just broke our losing streak against one of the league's best teams. We just dropped 41 after a horrible stretch of offense, and it's because Fuller played lights out. 4 touchdowns, no INTs, 7.9 YPA, a rating of 120. He picked off Jared Goff twice. Gibbs ran the ball very well, over 5 yards a carry. Amon-Ra St. Brown finally showed up for his best game of the season with 113 yards. And Laporta caught 3 touchdowns. Guy that barely did anything throughout the first 75% of the season. And now we're here and we put up 41 on the league's best team. We also got picks for Hobbs and Campbell, and Antonio Fuller gets his first Player of the Week nomination here in Week 14. And he also gets 10k XP alongside Gibbs and Hutchinson. Now he has 3 skill points. So this game was a huge turnaround for the season for Antonio Fuller. You're going to see why, because after this game, the offense finished the year incredibly strong. Incredibly strong. So this year is not over yet. We're only in Week 14, but we got Fuller up to an 82 overall. And I think we're going to be lucky in terms of what we're going to get from him in his second year. But then in Week 15, we put up 49. I didn't change the playbook. I didn't change anything. It just happened. Another 40-plus point game. Fuller once again puts up some great numbers. 3 touchdowns, no picks, 131 rating. We picked off their quarterback 5 times. And we also ran the ball well once again. So you're seeing that the team is good when you can pass and run at the same time, which is going to be true for every good team. But more sacks for Hutchinson, half a sack for Whitehead here, and 3 INTs for Riley Moss. 1 for Hobbs, 1 for Brian Branch, and one of these was a touchdown. It was one of Moss's that he brought back for a pick 6. He's up to I think 4 INTs this year. What a trade it has been to get him. And Whitaker was 7 for 7 from the field. Moss wins Player of the Week for our 4th Defensive Player of the Week nomination. And he also has a breakout chance going into this game against the Chicago Bears. And now for some contracts. Hutchinson has broken his own record for sacks with 14, his highest output so far in his career. So he is telling us that he is worth the contract, so we're going to give him one, and he will sign a new 4 or 5 year contract with us. We got Brian Branch now. He's next up, and he started for most of the year, putting up a lot of tackles, more than most middle linebackers will. And so for him, I want to keep this guy around for a while too. Only 24 years old. He's got a good dev trait, and he will stick around for 4 more seasons. Sam Laporta is next up, and I'm not sure what to do. His production in Madden does not match up with what you would expect, so I'm not going to make an offer to him just yet. I will withdraw for Aleem McNeil and Irv Smith, as well as linebacker Khalil Mack, who is barely playing this season. Cooper Whitaker is 10 for 15. And I got to look elsewhere for a kicker because right now he's not working out. We're going to let Jack Fox hit the open market. And we notch our 3rd straight win against Chicago. Fuller has kind of a regressing of a game, but we still win. Gibbs does not run the ball well. He also fumbled it too. We come out on top. Moore and Mooney lead the game in receiving yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown hauls in a touchdown here. And we got some more sacks for Hutchinson and one for Davis Gaither. And 2 INTs for Nate Hobbs. So him and Moss both have put up some really good INT numbers. And he puts together his 2nd Player of the Week nomination and our 5th for defense. We're going to re-sign Frank Ragnow. We tried to negotiate with Riley Moss here. But it looks like that he's going to want more money, I think. Because, I mean, he's got 5 INTs this year. He's having a great campaign in his first year here in Detroit. So 2-year offer for him. And he does want some more money because he doesn't really like Detroit all too much. We're going to a draw for Akeem Davis Gaither here and for Broderick Martin to essentially round out the negotiations here. A couple more withdrawals, but for the most part, that's going to close out the contract negotiations for this first season. Still the option for Antoine Kramer, but now we enter Week 17 against the 3-12 Atlanta Falcons, and if we win this game, we have a shot to make the playoffs. There are a lot of teams in the hunt, including us, but we're the only 7-8 team. There are a lot of 8-7, 9-6 teams, so we could still make it. But unfortunately, we just lost the game against a really horrible Atlanta team. It was a barn burner, but you lose by 3. You score a touchdown each and every quarter, but it wasn't enough. The defense had one of their worst games of the season. Both quarterbacks played incredibly well, and Fuller is putting together some really solid weeks to end his rookie campaign. But the run game was still very inconsistent. Mike Williams is still inconsistent, but that's been him his entire career. Caldwell with 49 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a touchdown. But the passing game never really got up to a level where you felt confident in the week-by-week production. And that was one of the big reasons why the offense just wasn't good in this first season, despite being, in the end, like a top 10 points per game kind of a team. We're going to try to extend Riley Moss here, but he still wants some more money. Brian Branch had a Player of the Week nomination, by the way, for that Week 17 performance. And in Week 18, we take down the Packers to go 4 out of 5 in our last 5 games. And Fuller once again puts up a really clean performance. No INTs, a pair of touchdowns. Irv Smith and Amon-Ra St. Brown got heavily involved here against the Packers. We had a sack for Alton Robinson and Davis Gaither. And we had nothing else. That was pretty much it. But again, 4 out of 5 of your last wins. And the offense was really good to end the season. But your end of season ranks, number 10 in offensive points per game. You're also top 10 in defense. Had the injury to Aaron Cobb here in the last week of the season. But a top 10 defense and offense, that is good. That is a promising sign to end a year, especially after you go 8-9. So improvements were made. Had 5 more wins than last year. I think that we're on track for a really promising second season. We end up with 3,600 yards for Fuller, 29 touchdowns, 14 INTs, 215 yards a game, and 97 rating. But I think, in my opinion, you go game by game, I think that he improved. His last several weeks, he had a really good stretch to end his rookie season after a couple of back and forth mediocre games. He had a lot of really good games, I would say, but towards the end, definitely a lot better. And in terms of rushing, he didn't actually do a whole lot of it. On the ground, Gibbs got over 1,100 yards, actually. It finishes with 4.1 per carry, so that got better as the year went on. 12 touchdowns, 72.6 per. We didn't score a lot of touchdowns on the ground. and Gibbs was the main focal point back there. Receiving wise, no receivers over 1,000 yards. That's got to get better next year. And Keon Caldwell had a really just rough season in his rookie year. Did not get involved hardly at all. 4 touchdowns, 32.6 per reception or per game. Laporta even had more, and Laporta's year wasn't that great either. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 10 scores. He and Mike Williams had fairly similar seasons. But Caldwell, man, that's disappointing. Blocking wise, Aaron Cobb allows 9 sacks, but that's actually not too bad. Penny Sewell had a good year, as did Frank Ragnow. Really, the entire offensive line played well. So, great job. It was mostly pretty healthy. On defense, 133 tackles for a safety, Brian Branch. 115 for Jack Campbell. 10 tackles for loss for Hudson and Aleem McNeil. 17.5 sacks for Hudson, 10 for Whitehead. So, DeMarcus Whitehead, after only 2 sacks in his rookie year, he came on swinging here. So what a good job by him. We got 4 sacks for Davis Gaither. And Sidney Graham is still hidden. So let's just see what his depth chart is now that the year is over. Star development. Okay. In terms of INTs, Nate Hobbs passes Moss for the most with 6. But really, this defense did a great job at forcing turnovers. So that is really good. The pass defense was phenomenal. Only had 1 fumble recovery. And Cooper Whitaker is not going to come back. In terms of the NFL, Mahomes led in passing yards. Touchdowns goes to him as well. Most INTs, Callum Burnett, who threw 5 against us. Followed by Antonio Fuller, but I think we'll clean these up next season. And in terms of the other quarterbacks, Eric Baldwin, 36 and 11. Really good season for him. Buck Coulter, 21 touchdowns, 10 INTs. Then Clayton Alexander did not get a whole lot of playing time. 8 touchdowns, 4 INTs, only had 1,100 yards. In terms of rushing, Jonathan Taylor led the league with 1,800. Average per game was Barkley. Touchdown leader with 20 is Taylor. 19 for Kenneth Walker. Fumble leader was Robinson with 4. Receiving leader Marquise Brown. Breakout year, 1,500 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 1,400. Guy, 16 touchdowns for Rashee Rice. That's impressive. Receptions leader, Jefferson and Brown. Blocking wise, most sacks allowed, Chase Perkins and Aquanu. That didn't work out for them. Tackle leader, Dexter Phillips, then Jordan Brooks, and then Brian Branch. That is incredible. 24 tackles for loss for Nick Bosa. 20.5 sacks for Greg Rousseau. 18.5 for Crosby, 17.5 for Hutchinson. Great year for him. They're missing a few players, though, because Parsons is not showing up, even though really he should be. But he's not there. INT leader, Nate Hobbs, though, is 6, followed by Riley Moss with 4, and Jack Campbell with 4. Okay. Kicking, best kicker in terms of percentage was Justin Tucker. He was perfect. We get to Pro Bowl week, and it is a Chiefs-Seahawks, a 1-seed matchup in the Super Bowl. The Commanders lost by 3 in the NFC Championship, while the Chiefs blew out the Dolphins in the AFC Championship. Looks like Green Bay lost in the first round. And yeah, the 1-seeds meet. Look at that game, by the way. 42-39, what a contest. These are the Pro Bowlers. Frank Ragnow makes it. That's our first one. Penny Sewell also there. Hutchinson. Riley Moss and Nate Hobbs, 1 and 2. Hell yes. Great acquisitions for us. apparently. And Brian Branch makes it. That's it. Pretty good. We had 6 Pro Bowlers. Yearly awards. Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. John Harbaugh is Coach of the Year. The AFC, Mahomes wins Opoy. Greg Rousseau, Depoy. O'Roy, Orlando McLeod. Andrew Ryan's D-Roy. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback. Jonathan Taylor. Rasheed Rice. Joe Thuney. Greg Rousseau. Crosby. Kevin Curry. Justin Tucker. And the NFC, Kenneth Walker wins Offensive Player of the Year. Micah Parsons, Depoy. Hutchinson right behind him. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Eric Baldwin over Fuller. Streeter was also over Fuller. So, yeah, Fuller could have played better. Caldwell was number 6, but really had no contest there. D-Roy goes to Dexter Billups. Best quarterback, Jared Goff. Best running back, Kenneth Walker. Receiver, Chris Godwin. Offensive line, Landon Dickerson. Parsons, best defensive line. Ojulari, best linebacker. Hobbs and Moss, first and second for best defensive back. Jimmy Hyde, best kicker. And the Chiefs have won the Super Bowl 31-24. Mahomes, the MVP. Okay, cool. In terms of retirements, both Khalil Mack and Teddy Bridgewater have retired for the Lions. Travis Kelce's done after 1 year in Green Bay. Stephon Gilmore, DeMarcus Lawrence, Joe Thuney, Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, Derrick Henry, Kareem Hunt, Derek Carr, Jordan Lewis. Thinking about trading Mike Williams to open up playing time for Caldwell and Jahan Dotson, who we barely even used this season. Dotson got essentially no playing time, and this might have been a mistake of a signing. Brian Branch goes up to Superstar Dev. Hell yes, man. Oh, what a great re-signing this was. Huge, huge, huge for him. That's awesome. Same goes for Nate Hobbs. He's now a superstar. What an acquisition this has been for us in this first season. This is exciting. We enter the offseason looking like this. Fuller as the franchise quarterback. Love behind him. St. Brown. Keon Caldwell. Benny Sewell. This is your defense. Brian Branch really came through. And that's your team. That is the end of the first season. A lot to improve on. Prospects that I'm thinking about. I am thinking a lot about defensive tackle and going somewhere here, but I'm not sure this class is the right place to do it. I'll look through these players at the start of the next episode. Also thinking about linebacker a little bit. Be right outside linebacker. Getting younger at middle linebacker. And then also thinking about backup defensive linemen behind our 2 young talents down there. Maybe you go for a tight end to add over Laporta. Who knows? But those are the ideas that I'm thinking about right now. But that is going to do it, folks. That is your first offseason, your first full regular season. And now we can head into year 2. Let me know your thoughts down below on the series and your thoughts on how this episode was developed. And see you guys next time. Take care.